Welcome to TechConnect. Tell us your story, present your idea, champion Filipino technology and ingenuity, promote a smarter and sustainable Philippines, and find partners, investors, and like-minded individuals who will help you flourish and bring your technological innovation to life. Again, welcome to everybody. My name is RJ Ledesma. Very proud to be your host for TechConnect. And joining me here today are our two mentors. We have Multisys Chief Executive Officer and Founder, David Almirol. David, please greet all of our guests listening to us here right now.
Hi, RJ. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here, RJ. Thanks.
Thanks so much, David. And we also have Amazon Web Services Philippines Senior Manager, Solutions Architect Head, Joel Garcia.
Hey, thanks, RJ. Good to see everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here.
Thanks so much, David and Joel, for joining us here on TechConnect. Now, before we get to our actual guests here for the podcast, just a couple of things. The brainchild really of TechConnect came from David really pushing this one. And David's been really a pioneer and a supporter of the development of technological innovation and tech startups here in the Philippines. David, as we do TechConnect, what would you like to see happen here in the show? How would you think is the best way that we are able to help small technological innovations and startups grow here in the Philippines?
Well, we Filipinos, we have a lot of brilliant ideas, right? And we have a lot of innovators, I should say. And all we need to do is discover them. And I think TechConnect will be the best, avenue for us to discover not only new ideas and new innovation, but systems and the solutions that are there already to solve a lot of problems, right? And to help us uplift the lives of a lot of Filipinos. That's how I foresee for this TechConnect podcast, RJ. Thanks.
And what's really great, David, with Multisys here, sort of like anchoring everything together, it's nice because it's literally TechConnect where we're able to take some of the people coming here to the show and connect them to the overall ecosystem where they can be of best benefit here to the country. Is that right?
Yes. Again, your product will not be a product if they're inside the closet. I think we need to open the closet and let the connection go, right? So
that's right. Let's all come out of the closet over here in TechConnect and help everybody grow their businesses and grow better Tech Philippines. And also, our good friend Joel Garcia from Amazon. What would you like to see happen here in TechConnect? How can TechConnect, you think, help many of our small tech entrepreneurs grow and flourish here in the country and all over the world?
Yeah, you know what? So I want to echo what David said, right? The Filipino talent is known globally, especially in the IT space, right? And I think one of the things that we've seen is we just want to be able to help the Filipino also think bigger. I mean, we've seen it today. Our wonderful Hidlin Diaz winning the gold, right? Just changes our perspective on what is possible, right? So we really want to be able to kind of help the Philippines and that talent go global, right?
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you used Hidlin sort of like as an analogy to Filipino tech because, I mean, there are two things that she needed to grow. Number one was, of course, financial support, right? In fact, in 2019, he was asking people, "Can you please support me so I'll be able to finish my Olympic dream?" But the second one was that she actually needed the support of the whole community, really, to be able to achieve that. It's like, it takes a village to raise a child. It took a country. It took a country to create an Olympic gold medalist, and that's sort of what we're trying to do over here in TechConnect. Create a tech community to help us find that next big tech business that can help grow the country. And having said that, we are very honored by our pilot guest here in TechConnect, our good friends from Senti. Now, Senti AI is the leading and pioneering artificial intelligence company in the Philippines, and their mission is to empower humans and organizations to work effectively together with AI. And to tell us more about that, we have Senti AI CEO and founder, Ralph Regalado. Ralph, welcome to the maiden episode of TechConnect.
Hi, RJ. Thank you so much for having me here to join TechConnect, and really appreciate all of the people who think and push this type of podcast to really push and inspire more entrepreneurs here in the country. And happy to be here to share more about Senti.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Ralph. And Ralph, like you heard earlier on, what TechConnect is all about is not just presenting your ideas and helping people appreciate better Filipino ingenuity, but really to find partners, investors, and like-minded individuals to help you further your ideas, bring your innovation to life, connect it to more people. What do you expect, or how can TechConnect, you think, help you with Senti AI?
Really, from our side is to get our story out there to inspire other entrepreneurs, and if there's a possible to really look for potential clients, right, who might be interested to work with us. That's really what I have in mind for this. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, you know what? Usually, when they do, for people who aren't too familiar, right? People do what they call startup pitches, which are elevator pitches. In about 30 seconds to a minute, they must be able to tell them what their idea is all about. For those people who might not be too knowledgeable about what Senti AI is, what's your elevator pitch? What is Senti AI?
Our Senti AI is really an organization who aims to help companies, maybe and enterprises to really help their journey towards towards artificial intelligence. So we help build and construct and guide this organization so that they can leverage the power of AI.
Okay, but having said that, what exactly makes Senti AI, I guess, different from other organizations also involved in the work of artificial intelligence?
So we have relatively built a skill in productionizing machine learning, because probably if you have heard AI and machine learning, all of this work are on research or probably restricted in the academe, right? But our goal really is to make use of what we have learned in the academe and push it into production, push it into in the industry, so that we can put into good use. That's where we put our efforts and our skills really to make sure that once we move these solutions or projects out of research, they would be useful.
Okay, this is a very interesting story. You moved from the academe into doing business, and I guess for any entrepreneur that's a terrifying experience, because you're in the comfort of the academe moving towards doing business. So it's good in paper, but in action it's a bit different, no? I just wanted to ask you, when you were making that journey, what we often ask tech startups, and I'm sure you're also very familiar with this question, was that what problem were you trying to solve, particularly here in the Philippines when you put up AI? Please walk us through your entrepreneurial journey from being that academician, the problem that you saw, and then you entered into business.
So actually, in the first year, I've been doing a lot of research back in the days, specifically focused on building systems that is able to understand Filipino languages. We know that Filipino or Philippine languages is really complex, right? So Filipinos speak Tagalog, or sometimes they do context switch, they merge Tagalog and English. And we develop new words. We also create new ways to express our thoughts, and we know that language continues to evolve. That's what really impressed me, to figure out how to create systems that is able to understand Filipino and even Philippine languages. So when we started to ideate for Senti, I was still teaching that time at DLSU. I was teaching entrepreneurship, and it's really hard to also teach without the experience. How can you really build businesses if you don't know how to really build one? So that's really was a trigger for me at that time to really join and figure out how to build my own. So I was very lucky that during that year, 2013, there was a contest called Startup Weekend Manila. That's where I joined, and I pitched the idea of building a social analytics platform that is able to understand Philippine languages. So that was our first solution during that time, and luckily we won the contest. And that really started the journey of Senti up until to the point that we have diversified our offerings to really cater to artificial intelligence.
So the first one really was about the Filipino language, right? That was really the start of your journey over here. And having said that, no, I mean, I want to just bring in Dave into this discussion, because Dave has had a similar journey also in terms of Multisys, in terms of having to set up your own company from scratch, and maybe the first business might not be the best business. In other words, the Filipino language and social analytics might have been the final business model that you're using. Maybe Dave, what is your own experience when you mirror it against the experience of Senti putting up their own business?
Well, it's an exciting journey. Every startup has a very, a very unique and let's call it eye-opening experiences like Ralph experienced. I think it's all about identifying a problem. So he identified the problem, and then you go. He focused on the solution. So that's how startup work. Even now, I'm still a startup. I don't consider myself as a corporate yet, RJ, because that agility mindset is really nice. If you identify a problem and then there you go, you have now a solution. Then you build the solution, like Ralph's did during that contest, right? So that's why he won. He won that because he was able to prove or pitch a solution to a certain problem, and that's the way to move forward nowadays. We have tons of problems, but one step at a time, one problem at a time, one solution at a time, we'll fix those problems through startup mindsets.
Joel, that's a really great idea. I mean, when we look at your founder Jeff Bezos, up to now he still maintains sort of like startup and agility mindset. I understand that even in Amazon you've got this two pizza model that you use to be able to maintain agility over there. Maybe you can share a bit more as well. What did you think about Senti's own entrepreneurial journey of how they started off?
Yeah, we can certainly appreciate that at AWS, right? We work with companies of all shapes and sizes, from enterprises to small, medium businesses to startups and ISVs. One of the things, though, that has kept what we like to call our day one culture at Amazon is we created a mechanism, and a mechanism is a full input-output process, right? At Amazon, because Jeff likes to say that good intentions are not good enough. Right, so we have to put things in place even when we want to make things happen. So in the case of how we're helping companies of all shapes and sizes, including startups, is we have something called our working backwards mechanism, which is exactly what David was kind of talking about. 90% of the services that we create in AWS are as a result of what customers tell us matter to them. Right, so we have a working backwards process, and we, as part of that working backwards process, we answer 5 questions. Right, who is the customer? What is the customer problem or opportunity? Is the most customer benefit clear? And how do we know what customers need or want? And then last is, what does the customer experience look like? So those are just some of the guidelines that we help even big companies think like a day one company.
Having said that, what truly also resonates with me was that when Ralph was talking about Senti, I mean, the first thing that they started off with in the business, and I often say this, sometimes your first business model is not the ultimate business model. You kind of have to iterate towards greatness. Is that it was the Filipino language, right? And the first thing that came to mind as you were discussing that was, what you were trying to solve a problem, but is that problem something that is, if when you find a solution, is it scalable? Is it something that you can really grow? What did you learn, Ralph, after you did set up the first social analytics? How did you evolve from there? Was it what you thought was going to be the final model, or where did you go from there?
I think the first solution really did work in terms of like how we should be able to navigate and craft solutions, because like building solutions or building a product is completely different, right? You need to have a lot of investment for that. It takes a lot of effort, especially if you're competing with companies that have bigger finances over you, right? So I think what we have did is try to leverage the technology itself and use it on a different industry. So I think that the language capability has different uses. It's not just only for marketing and advertising, right? It could actually be applied across customer service, or it could be applied on different segments of industry. So we have tried to leverage our deep technology expertise and try to remake it into a different type of solution. So we have really diversified our offerings. As mentioned, we have already built an assistant that is able to understand and talk Bisaya and local languages. We have also launched last year a solution for contact center that is able to also understand local languages. So it's still really capturing the core, but it's more of like a different use case or a different business use or corporate use. We try to adjust it based on the environment here in the Philippines, right? And also try to also manage where are we really in the space of AI and how mature the organization or the company and also the country as is in terms of adapting to such technologies.
So when you were trying to do all that one, my question is that you were solving this original problem of the use of languages. When did you start to realize that you had to sort of pivot out of that model? Was that particular problem you were trying to solve something that was not um, problematic enough, or you didn't think that it would generate, for me as far as I'm concerned, because I also wear my entrepreneurial hat, was it the income stream wasn't there? How did you, it's a bit challenging at that point, no, when you're hitting, because there comes a point when you are a fresh entrepreneur that you, oh no, it might not work. When it occurred to you that, okay, let's go this direction, let's go that direction?
I think it come to a time that when I really started full time at Senti. So I think I started full time around 2017. So I left my job at Kita Academy to really work on it full time. And that's where I was able to figure out and observe what's the current mechanism for such technology, and is the market really there? Is the revenue really there? And that's where the realization comes in that we really need to expand the capabilities. Though there are already still few who are interested on the solution, it's not enough to like keep the operations growing, right? So you need to explore other modes of business to leverage the same technology. That's where we have expanded and not just really focus on one solution, but expand to other future solutions. Because again, AI is not just it's really that it's not as big as other software development projects yet at this point. So we try to as much as to cater to different industries during that time. So again, it's more on the realization that the market is not yet ready, and the revenue or the finances on that specific revenue stream is not that huge. So we need to look into other opportunities where we can expand our skills. So we look into other aspects as to where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are, and then focus on our strengths and expand the business on our strengths.
Having said that, I want to go back to David again. David, I mean, you were able to grow Multisys into a multi-billion peso business, but that's also looking at the same time as to what were the, same thing that same entrepreneurial journey that Ralph went to. But you know what, I have to say that you're pretty good at spotting which technologies to utilize, which ones to leverage, which ones to do. Looking at this experience in your own, no, what would you think are the key drivers for entrepreneurs at that stage to say, okay, what should I pursue? Where do I find the opportunities to grow the business? If you look back at your own experience.
For me, it's all about value creation. If you start something, and I agree with Ralph, he see a value of this AI technology. And then once you have that value creation, now the next thing to do is how to create now use cases of that value. Once you have that use cases, now there you go, you can now build the revenue drivers out of that. So I guess there's a lot of ways to do it. I don't think that there's like a book, ordered base to make sure that we'll be able to follow that. I think a startup has this mentality and creativity and very flexible to create. And there you go, they'll be able to create something out of that idea. And then the value versus the revenue will come out later on. For me, my humble experience, and I don't consider it as a perfect example, but I think I was able to create like a multiple alternatives to create both value and revenue, because it's very important. Because it's really hard to survive in one area where you're having hard time to have value, and then you're also having hard time to have revenue. Especially if you don't have support, if you don't have financial support, as mentioned by Ralph, it's not easy. Especially when I was starting in Multisys, if you're trying to grow the business, and at the same time you're self-financing yourself, and then you're suffering from financial problems, it's really hard. That's why I agree with Ralph. I think starting somewhere is the value creation, and then as they grow, as they notice the growth, then people will come in, and there you go, the help will be there. Like Amazon, I mentioned like what happened with Amazon. When I was starting, it's really hard for me to afford, expensive hardware just to launch a certain technology. And here comes Amazon. They're able to assist us. They even give us free access of their servers, cloud services. And there you go. We're able to start something.
Wow. Really great story, David. And I want to go back to a couple other things that you raised as well, but I'm sure many people gained a lot of insight from there. Joel, just for yourself, I mean, because you've seen a lot of companies over the years in your career in Amazon, and you've seen those also that have been in the sort of the same position and same history as a startup that they're doing. They're concerned the startups maybe people weren't ready for that technology. I guess at this stage of the country or uh, where it needs to be in terms of revenue. What would be your sort of like your insight, your advice to companies at that stage where they were coming into Senti?
Yeah, so I think Ralph kind of mentioned it already, and David reinforced it, right? Usually, it's not building the big bang idea; it's experimentation, right? We like to believe that we don't know what customers want, but here's the great thing and great insight: neither do they. And as a result, right? As a result, we will really need to experiment. The other thing that I want to be able to state, and the way that we've been able to adapt is to add on to that is we know that customers, even if they report being satisfied, are actually not, right? They're always looking for something better. So you always have to continuously experiment. Now, where we come in is, and David mentioned it, is we help customers actually lower that point of entry, right? That initial investment, and they can go global in minutes, right? So they can go and experiment, confirm or reject a hypothesis around an MVP, but not have the collateral damage of cost, right? So you have that time to market, and then you can move on to the next idea, or you can expand the idea.
Yeah. I saw a big smile on the face of of Ralph when you were saying trying to keep the cost down as you're trying to blow up your MVP. I guess Ralph's been there. He knows exactly the feeling of what's going on over there. No, and having said that, Ralph, I just want to ask you right now. No, at your current state, where are you right now in terms of I guess for many startups, I guess this will be very helpful. No? What stage are you in terms of financing of the business, and how do you plan to scale it as well? Because like many startups are also in your position, they don't know. Do I get an angel investor? Do I go to a seed round already? Do I look for private investors? And what exactly is your idea of how to scale the business? Since my presumption is that you've already found out the technology that where you want to take it technology wise. How do you plan to scale it, and how did you plan to finance it?
Actually, our focus is really more on the revenue, because I think once we're able to repeatedly do and explore those type of revenue scheme, it would be easy for us to really scale the business. And I guess not just only the revenue, but also the operations, right? How you handle people, how do you structure your organization? A lot of like challenges really comes with scaling, right? If you scale from a 30 head of people to 100, there's a lot of challenges there and how you're going to manage such people. At the early stage, you've probably been doing it outright. That you have 10 people, you just message them to do this and that. But once you reach to 100 people, there's a lot of structure changes, and you need to also bring your people with you, right? Because they have already built that type of idea that they can do things and act fast. But once you put some structure, it became already slow. So there's a lot of consideration not only on the revenue side. Again, finance would actually be helpful, but also considering the operations of the organization as well is very critical to scale. So that's why our focus is more on that, trying to maintain and trying to build the rhythm of like continuous capture of revenue at the same point in time, making sure that all the grounds are covered, that we're ready to scale.
So just to ask right now, you're growing the business through internal financing, through revenue generation, and not through investment. Is that right?
Yes, we actually got the funding from the government way back in 2018. So we're very lucky that the Department of Science and Technology rolled out their first startup grant that year. And we're lucky to be part of that grant. So after that grant, we were able to sustain ourselves in terms of like finances. And we're lucky to have partners such as AWS. So we're one of the AWS Select Tier partner, along with other Google. We're also part of the Google Cloud family as well. So we work together with partners to really help their clients as well in their innovations towards artificial intelligence. So we have really grown our network, and I think that was all of the 2 years that we have been building, like talking to people, and suddenly in the past next 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years, you have already meet them as well, and then you have gained business. I think network creation also is very critical and important.
Now, in terms of income generation, just want to ask one more thing. Now, what is the key driver of income right now for your business?
On our side, it's really more on building solutions for our clients. So we have helped different enterprises in telco and in the entertainment industry. We work with banks, and they've seen our support and help in how we can actually push artificial intelligence solutions for them, and we also like manage the solutions for them. So we work with them. So first we help them strategize and identify which use cases work for them, because some of the organizations have really a hard time trying to figure out if this works, right? And we know that based on our recent report that we have released last year, that the value proposition and the added value brought by AI is really unclear to majority of its stakeholders. There's a lot of still educational aspect that we need to push through, and we need to work together with our partners to educate the ecosystem itself. And because of that, we have gained a lot of like clients who are continuously getting our services.
But is it a subscription as a service model? Is it a consultancy business model that you have with all your clients?
So we work with the consultancy along with the subscription model. So really dependent on the arrangement with our clients. So it's either we push one of our solutions, or the engagement would be we guide them into their journey. So it could actually be a consulting setup, or it could also be a subscription setup to one of our solutions.
Thanks so much, Ralph. And then having said that, I want to go back again to Dave. And Dave, there are two key things that were coming up over here. Was that as they're growing, there's challenges and opportunities in scaling, and challenges and opportunities in financing. And of course, people look again at Multisys as a tech company of the year. I mean, from a small company, you've grown Multisys to a multi-billion peso company. What are the challenges that you saw to scale, which you can see also in what's happening to Ralph's business, and maybe how do you address these challenges to scale, and also challenges to financing? One of the bigger things, right? I mean, that's where people keep on, that becomes the chicken or the egg argument. Should I get, like you were saying, revenue or value? Should I get outside investors? Should I internally generate funds to grow my business to create scale? What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, for me, I agree with Ralph. I think that's a very good start by creating alternative revenue drivers, right? So I heard Ralph talking about other solutions, not only on the AI perspective, but embedding the solution to a certain technology can be an added value to the company. When I was starting, it's really hard to build value while you're also doing revenue. It's like an opposite way, right? Because sometimes you want to have value, but you need to finance it, and you cannot grow without revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to finance your growth. And I think I like what I heard with Ralph, that you have to have good partners, or the right partners. You have to find right partners, like what you did with AWS before and until now. So what we do is, once you have those partners, for me, I believe that finding the right partner are same as finding investors, RJ. Because if you have the right partner, you save money, number one. And if you have the right partners, you learn from them. Okay, and then they will guide you. That's expensive, And if you find the right partners, you save a lot of time of developing something. Example, in Multisys, we have a program now, and this is also enabled by AWS, that instead of you building a certain platform, we have ready-made platforms that you can build on top of them. Instead of you building something from scratch, you can use our platform now to build on top of those platforms, so that you don't need to do it from scratch. And those are the kind that activity that I've done in the past. It's all about finding the right partners for you to support both revenue and value at the same time.
Thanks so much. Joel, please do chime in. You've seen many companies also in the same position as them, and I'm glad that AWS has been their partner in helping them grow. But what's your other advice also for other startups who are looking to scale and to finance? What are the best ways to sort of hack this process, the same way that Multisys and Senti are hacking things right now?
Yeah, so thanks, RJ. As I mentioned, and David, thank you for the kind words, right? Like I said, we're all aligned, and so first of all, we continue to innovate on behalf of the customer, right? We have over 200 services, 85% of TensorFlow workflows, for example, for machine learning actually run on AWS, right? That means that that people that are experimenting on machine learning or even AI have a lot to look forward to in terms of the innovation on AWS. And again, this is not machines that they have to set up. They can focus on what matters in terms of their idea, right? They leave the heavy lifting, what we call undifferentiated heavy lifting, to us, to be able to run on the compute, storage, and networking. And the startups can focus on what matters, who they're targeting as a customer, and bringing their idea to life, right? And we do that through our programs. We do that through our innovation. And even the way that what is unique with AWS is what we try to do is once we build a certain level of scale, we pass on the savings back to our customers. So, for example, we've had 107 price reductions, right? So that's just part of that partnership, because we know that if our customers are successful, then we will be successful. So that's how we kind of.
Fantastic. So really, I mean, we see we're leveraging the power of partnership, and that's really what TechConnect here is all about. And Senti, that's why I'm very glad you're here right now, because you've got a chance to talk to both AWS and you've got a chance also to talk to Multisys and maybe figure out how everything's going to work in your ecosystem to scale using these partnerships. But having said that, I often like asking these questions to many of the guests that I speak to. And you've seen how Senti has grown from being basically a language app, an artificial intelligence language app, to where it is with multiple functions. Where do you actually see the opportunities right now for Senti, not just here in the Philippines, but abroad, and even 5 years from now? Where do you see Senti then?
Our primary mission really as an organization is to expand in Southeast Asia. Again, if we're talking about AI, you will probably be hearing more about US or China or Europe, but probably Philippines is on the last of your list. So I think we would want to challenge ourselves that we would want to put Philippines on the map if they talk about artificial intelligence. And when I go visit into exhibits in Singapore and even in Korea, they're kind of surprised if there is a company of artificial intelligence in the Philippines. I think we would want to make that mark. And together with partners that we do have, we want to work and collaborate with them to make sure that we're able to provide such services and bring the expertise of Filipino to the global stage.
Thanks so much, Ralph. And having said that, let me just go back again to David. David, again, no, you got a great general perspective of our tech landscape here in the Philippines. You're doing multiple platforms. What do you think you see the opportunities also with Senti, with the whole ecosystems and all the different systems that they're working with? Where do you think Senti can fit into all of that?
Well, we all know AI is a very futuristic solution, to a lot of problems, and possibilities are endless, right? So I think embedding that creativity on how to create a lot of use cases, you can do a lot. You can create or develop a lot of solutions, okay, from that AI perspective. And like us, we also do several AI solutions also, and some of them powered by AWS. So we're able to stitch up the gaps instead of repeating what's already there. Sometimes it's a total waste of time to build something that's already established. So what we do is we leverage from those technology, and we're able to stitch up those gaps, and there you go, boom. We're able to create another platform or another solution again that could solve another problem. So I think there's a huge opportunity for any AI solutions provider nowadays. There's a lot of use cases and solutions that they're able to build based on an industry level, like Ralph mentioned a while ago. You can do this in academia, you can do this in healthcare, you can do this in any other industry. Everything is flexible as long as you have this use case to come up with a sector focused solution provider mindset.
I love it. It's a sector-focused mindset, and it also takes one of these ideas from innovation. Oftentimes, what Josiah Go says in innovation, one of our marketing gurus, is that sometimes you have to take a look at other industries and take the innovations from other industries and bring it into your own. Or in other words, maybe there's an industry you haven't seen just yet. Just take a look outside of your own, outside of AI, and see the different applications by looking at what other industries are doing and bring it into your own. Thanks so much, David Almirol of Multisys, and of course, Joel over here. What do you think are the opportunities emerging? You've had a chance to interact together with Senti, where it's growing. What do you think is really the opportunity for the further growth of a proudly Filipino AI solution?
I think one of the biggest ones is along customer engagement, right? So while if there's one thing that has come along or accelerated by COVID, right, is the focus of companies on rethinking what their customer experience looks like. And when I think about customer experience, it isn't just a digital touch point. It really is thinking about that customer journey more end to end. But as customers actually think about that customer experience, it should be inclusive, right? It's not just in one language. We have a country that is also multilingual within its own right, right? And we want to be able to engage with all Filipinos, right? Not just in the Philippines, but globally as well. And I think that that's an interesting, opportunity for Senti, right? Specifically in the way that those companies are, maybe they can't even fathom, for example, Cebuano, Ilocano, and and being able to in a much more personalized level, right? In a much more personalized level. But those companies need to really rethink what that customer experience and customer engagement looks like. And it just so happens that Senti will have the AI technology that can help power some of that.
Fantastic. I love it. That. For me, the idea is that inclusivity will be the new normal or the next normal for all of us over here. And again, thank you so much for all the great feedback over here. I do hope that the people listening over here did gain a lot from the experience of both Senti, MultiSys, and our good friends from Amazon Web Services. So again, thank you so much to Senti founder Ralph Regalado, MultiSys CEO David Almirol, and Amazon Web Services Senior Manager Solutions Architect Head Joel Garcia. If you are a startup company or a tech company or just a company that wants to grow leveraging technology, please let us know. Present your idea, tell your story to us here in TechConnect. We would love to help you find partners, investors, and like-minded individuals who will help you flourish and bring your innovation to life. My name is RJ Ledesma. We will see you in the next podcast of TechConnect.